Cutters, Degrassi, Unpopular Opinions. Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Cutter, Degrassi, Unpopular Opinion. And this is number 197 in this series. I'll get to 200, and it's going to be a big one, and that will probably be the end of it. There will be some retrospective videos about Cutters, Degrassi, Unpopular Opinions. Like topics like 200 episodes and, basically episode shorts and all that. But of course, we got to get to 200 first. This is number 197 in the series. And this is another Degrassi one from season 4. Now, I've done plenty of season 4 Degrassi Next Gen videos about the Rick Murray situation and unpopular opinions and Degrassiisms and a few series on it. But this one, I never thought, I thought I touched upon, kind of. Well, I kind of did, but not as the main focus. So, a couple of weeks ago, and for context, it's being taped on June 17th, 2023, I posted, I understand why Rick did the spray paint to his tormentors, unpopular opinion. But I prefaced it by saying, just to be clear, everything else he did, I hate on, and don't give him sympathy. Alright, so only one person gave a thought, and I'll get to that comment before I do comment. Well, anyway. There's a good reason why he did what he did in Time Stand Still Part 1. Guy just went into a dumpster thanks to Jimmy and Spinner. He's been tormented and seems like no one was helping him. So he decides the next day to use spray paint and spray his tormentors' cars. I even said, well, how did he know which ones exactly were his tormentors? But basically, he sprayed his tormentor's car as a way of saying, you've been tormenting me all this time, but what if the shoe was on the other foot? As in, how would you like it if people did that to you? But, of course, it adds fuel to the fire of Spinner, Jay, and Alex. And basically, they decided to use the paint and feathers to try to teach Rick a lesson. And get back at Rick for what he did. It was easy to blame Rick, as it was a way to get rid of him. But, of course, they couldn't go to Raditch, as in Spinner, Jay, and Alex, because it incriminates them. And Sean may have kicked himself for suggesting this to Jay and crew. But, I just want to get this off my chest. One person commented and said, I agree. The spray paint was the first time he fought back against anyone since he abused Terry. It was a non-violent but sneaky gesture that he knew he could get away with. It seemed that Jimmy was the only person who had the foresight to know that Rick would double down and fight back harder. So that's a key indication. Now, as I said, I hate on him and I don't give him sympathy. I mean, yeah, he should never have tried to retaliate. Like Rick, for all the bullying he got in season 4 prior to Time Stand Still Part 1, didn't do one thing. He didn't retaliate, which was shocking. But Rick kind of figured that if he just kept cool for a few days, maybe they'll stop tormenting him. But no, the flames were never doused, in a sense. The simple fact with Rick is that he came back to the school with no strings attached, seemingly, and the students were upset with Raditch and themselves. I think a few of them themselves for not pressing criminal charges on Rick when they should have. But maybe Rick gets away with it with a good lawyer. The fact of the matter is that Rick was his own worst enemy, in a sense, sometimes. But, Rick's been tormented. Nobody is backing off on him, and then in Time Stand Still Part 1, Jimmy and Spinner come around and shove him into a dumpster. I originally thought it was Jay and Spinner, because I'm like, Jimmy can't be that evil. But no, it was Jimmy. And then I thought that same day Rick may have found spray cans in the dumpster and then decided to spray paint everyone's cars. But I looked at Rick's wardrobe in the 2 scenes, and they were much different, which means that the next day Rick decides to spray paint the circle and the X on everyone's cars. And, get back at his tormentors. Of course, Spinner says my car is cursed because, Spinner had to have his car repaired thanks to Paige crashing it into Dean's car for revenge for Dean getting away with raping Paige. And now he's got the circle and the X, and Sean says you have to wipe it off because it's going to get on the interior or something. I don't know how Sean puts it. But anyway, Jay says, whoever did this is going to pay dearly. Who would do such a thing? And Alex says, someone named Rick Murray. And then Jay says, this is evidence. We must tell Raj. Sean mocks him and says, yeah, and you don't think that he's going to want to find out why Rick spray painted the car? Did this? And then Jay, realizing that it would incriminate his group, says, screw it, we don't need Raj. We can get rid of him ourselves. So they plot to do something about it. Of course, the painted feathers don't come to mind first and foremost until the bathroom, I think, or something like that. So, yeah, Rick did this. Now, I can understand Rick's point of view that, you know, he's being tormented and he decides, why not try this gesture to say, you know, how would you like it if people did this to you? You're doing this to me. How would you like it if it happened to you? I mean, I would get that, and that was a gesture to say, you know, I'm going to fight back from here on out. It just added fuel to the fire of Jay, Spinner, and Alex, trying to get rid of him. And, of course, let's not forget that they're also miffed that Jimmy switches sides, because when Jimmy sees Toby's busted lip, and, you know, Jimmy's part of the quiz bowl team because of Heather's mono, and Raj wouldn't help Rick out, Rick tells him about everything, and Jimmy realizes that maybe it's not a good idea, and that, you know, Rick's not going to go anywhere. So he basically stands up to Jay, Spinner, and Alex, which kind of pisses them off in a sense. I think in a sense they were trying to destroy Rick, and now they're mad at Jimmy for switching sides. I get it. Like, I get it too. And then, you know, the painted feathers falls. Rick wants to go back to school for revenge. He almost gets Paige, but Paige calms him down by saying everything was childish. And then, you know, Rick decides to clean himself up in the bathroom, and then he listens to Jay and Spinner's bullshit, and then decides to shoot Jimmy in the spine. He could have aimed for the head, but he didn't. And then, you know, he wanted to go after Emma, but Sean saved the day by wrestling the gun from Rick and accidentally shooting Rick in the stomach with it. And then, you know, lots of guilt and all that. I originally thought Sean had guilt about telling Jay. Maybe it occurred to his mind. It occurred to him that he told Jay and the crew about not going to Raj. Maybe he thought that, you know, he may have contributed to them using the painted feathers to get rid of Rick. But I think Jay, Spinner, and Alex would still have done something about it. They would still done it. But I mean, Rick did the spray paint to try to tell them that, you know, the shoe's on the other foot, I can retaliate. And maybe it gets worse. Maybe Rick says, spray paint now, but worse stuff later. And then that would have painted the bullies into a corner. But they fought back against Rick. In a sense, it worked. In a sense, it didn't. But the fact of the matter is that Rick did this to himself. All Rick had to do was not come back to Degrassi. He had a chance to have a fresh start at other schools. And nobody would have blame him for it. It would be like, okay, fine. And then maybe he comes back to Degrassi a year or two later. Fair enough. But the fact of the matter is, I cannot sympathize with Rick because he brought a gun to the school for revenge. He wanted to shoot somebody. He did. He got Jimmy. He almost got Emma. He almost got Paige. But when you bring a gun to the school for revenge, for retaliation, that way, instead of the spray paint, that means that you're a bad person. I'm sorry, but I can't sympathize with Rick. Not now, not ever. And you can take that to the bank. Sorry for my CDUO being shorter than normal, but I just want to get that fury off my chest and everything else. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.